sit here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know Terry and Nicole, you guys are like coming up like soon on like 30 years of marriage. I mean, maybe 28, but I mean, you could almost say 3 decades of marriage. So let's go back. I saw you were doing the challenge on Facebook recently. I saw some pictures of like 30 years ago when you guys met, and there's big hair and big glasses. And just real briefly, how did you guys meet? How did you fall in love? What was that like?
Well, you're correct, Dave. There was big hair involved, both mine and Nicole's. I needed a little help to get an introduction to her, so I acquired that from Lisa Asher, who some of you may know, who went to school with me. So she...
you were set up.
She ran interference to make sure that I would not be rejected if I passed this one out.
You tested the waters.
Yeah.
Through
So
a
there's
friend.
the vulnerability already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to get real here.
And
real
then
quick.
after that, it was love at first sight, so it was good.
For you.
Oh.
Love at first sight?
No, I
For
think
you
it was
too?
for both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify
I think
that.
I had gone out with enough guys. We went on a first date, and I left saying,
That's the guy.
this
Well,
is
love
different.
At first talk, not
Yeah,
sight.
talk.
Let's be
Talk,
clear.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
First time you talked.
Yeah.
Okay. Chemistry.
Chemistry.
Well, let's get right to the real stuff. I mean, you're not married for 27, 28 years without there being some rough patches and some things to really work through. And I know when you guys were around like your 10th anniversary, you hit a patch in your marriage where you really wondered if you were going to make it. Can you just kind of talk to us about what was happening there and what the issues were and what you were facing?
Yeah, I was done. I had hit the rock bottom and said, yeah, I was done. And we had a family. We had supportive friends. We had really adorable little kids.
Well, I come home and Nicole says, I'm done. And I'm like, what? We have the perfect marriage. I love this woman. She's funny. She's compassionate. She's smart. She's wise.
Yeah.
I
So
have
for
a
you,
perfect family, one of each child.
Yeah.
I mean,
so for you, there was no issue really. Things are great, but in
Yeah.
Nicole's perspective, things are very different.
Yeah.
So what was happening for you, Nicole?
I think that I had probably started to hit rock bottom about the time our son was about 2.5. You know, postpartum hits rough for a lot of people. And I don't know exactly the time frame, but I really felt like I was not being heard. And being heard correlates with being understood. And that we were not there. And
I understand that's really important for women, being understood
yeah.
and being heard.
Yeah. Good job, Kim. He's hearing that. More
and
success.
That's the message I think that was, for me, was hard to hear. The fact that I thought this was perfect meant I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's really.
And I remember, Nicole, you were saying for you were ready to, you were fantasizing about and actually planning just running, driving away, never coming back.
I was at a point where I was dealing with depression, and I felt like I was kind of coming out of depression. I'd seen a doctor and was clinically described as that, taking medication for that. I can remember, sorry, this is going to be really vulnerable today. So I can remember being at a point where I thought that if I just took a bottle of pills and was whisked away to the emergency room, I didn't need to die. I wasn't thinking about that, but I thought maybe that would get Terry's attention. I can remember having my little kids in the back of our car at that point and driving somewhere south on I-25 and thinking, I could just keep going. I could just keep going. I'm so done. No one is hearing me. No one, my most important person, is not hearing me. Yeah.
And so when I finally heard that, and it took obviously a lot for me to hear that, what I realized was this kind of quasi-perfect life that I thought I had made and built, well, it was not, I wasn't doing it right, it wasn't right. And so I think I had almost nothing to do except for I had to bow my head and say, God, you got to do something. And then all I heard was, go lower. So I'm like, okay, after a while, I went to my knees and said, God, do something. And I heard, go lower. And I said, okay, on all fours, God. And he said, go lower. And I went to my face. I mean, my face, literally and figuratively, before God and before my wife.
And I said, it's not good enough.
Yeah, and nothing happened. I mean, nothing happened. And so
So this wasn't going to be a quick fix.
No.
Yeah.
It wasn't quick.
I just stayed there, metaphorically. I just had to be like, anything, whatever she needs from me, I will do.
Yeah, and I don't know, I would just say, I read a book once about forgiveness, about how different people need to hear different things. So it's probably pretty obvious. Prove it. I'm going to punish you just enough or test you just enough, or you need to show me.
Yeah. So what did going low look like for you, Terry? I mean, besides just being on your face before God, I mean, in the context of marriage, what did going low look like?
You want me to address that? Sorry.
Can you answer that?
Yeah, I can. I think I'll get it on the track where. So I think that we'd gone a number of months, and there had been a lot of things. I mean, besides begging, pleading, that doesn't cut it. Besides trying to talk through things, suggesting counseling, I said no. I said, I want a divorce, and he said no. And I said, well, we'll see about that. And I said, I want a financial divorce, so we'll start with that. I didn't leave. And I think that there were miracles along the way that really I can't describe them any other way, because I cannot tell you how ready I was to just leave. And I didn't. And I know that there were so many people that were praying for us, besides our two families, dear, dear friends. And there came a point in time where I thought, I'll just really put out the test, the big one, if he really means this. And some of you may know, some of you may not know that we both come from really tight families. Terry's a Denver native. His family lives about a mile from us right now. We've lived in the same house for over 20 years. And we're tight. I mean, it's easy to say. So I said to Tara, if you're really serious about making this work, we're going to move. We got to move far away. But we never talk about moving. We never.
And that was a part of going low.
Yeah.
Was I resolved to say yes to what she thought was needed and was going to help us.
Yeah.
Let's go to counseling. Yes.
Yeah.
Do I want to? No. Am I going to? Yes. Let's move. Okay.
Yeah. And what really strikes me about what I'm hearing is going low for you meant in the face of kind of constant rejection almost, and I want a divorce, that you continued to stay engaged in the process and continue to do whatever it took to win your wife back.
And let me also say, there was no light at the end of the tunnel. When you're laying flat on your face on the ground, you do not see anything in front of you. And I can remember there was this moment, I happened to be talking to one of Nicole's friends, and I said, I don't know what to do. I'm at the end. Nothing is working. Nothing is helping. And she just said, remember, we live by faith, not by sight. And that really spoke to me. And I said, I don't see anything, but I'm going to stay right here, no matter what.
That's good. What part did other people play? What part did your faith play in kind of helping you guys through that very, very difficult time?
One of the friends Terry's alluding to, we have kind of a group of friends called one of the other girlfriends. You know Lily. A lot of you know Lily, dear long-term friend of ours. And I had girlfriends that committed. I can't even believe that they would even be able to keep this. And they prayed for over 365 days, every day together for the two of us. I didn't know that until years went by. I didn't know that. I know that we had family members that were talking amongst themselves and were concerned and praying. But I can tell you, for me, one day my mom called, and I don't know what I was saying, but such baloney. And I was saying, it's going to be fine. I've got a job. I'm working. My kids are going to be in daycare. Everything's going to be fine. I'm independent. I can do all of this. And I don't have any feelings left. I was so numb and so done. And my mom said, who are you talking to? Who is this? What is this? I don't know this. This is not you.
And that spoke to you.
Yeah. I remember just pulling over in a parking lot at that point. I was talking to her on the phone and just crying and thought, I know who I'm not listening to. I'm not listening to God. And I went through this really weird phase for me personally where I just, I did everything I could not to hear my conscience, the Holy Spirit. I listen to the radio, but I don't listen to the radio all the time. I constantly had noise going on at that time in the background, TV, whatever, anything to not hear what was truth.
Terry, what's happening in your faith during this time? Your prayer life is growing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just waiting on God. There's not one thing at this point that I thought it was over too, and I thought that nothing I could say or do would fix it. And really, I think honestly, the only thing that helped is God started to soften her heart, and I was, because of God in me, I had become so, I think, like I said, low that she almost couldn't be angry anymore at a person that's like, I will go anywhere, do anything to save this.
I have to say this for Mike Sajak, because we were somewhere last night and we're talking, and you're going to love this one, Mike. So if you guys know Terry and I, we're about as opposite as two people can be, and that's our attraction is perfect. But I love to spend money, and Terry does not. And here was the final thing. This was probably the final test. I got some crazy idea, Mike, that an RV would fix our relationship. And I said to Terry, okay, well, I'll tell you, if you really want to tell me, you're committed to our family, we're going to go buy a motorhome. And if anybody knew us back then, that was the first Big Al. And it was so awful, ugly, brown, old. But Terry shelled out the cash. And he did it.
Something happened to her when she threw this thing out that she knew I'd never.
Yeah, he would never go for that. He hates camping.
And I said yes.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, whatever.
Okay, we'll do that.
We'll do whatever.
And it was so shocking. And if you can imagine everything somebody doesn't like, and then they said yes, it was the bottom. And he did it.
Yep, that's awesome. Well, I think we want to affirm you guys for sticking with it. And I think anybody who knows you now and sees where you are now and just the beautiful relationship you guys have now, going up on your 28th year of marriage, would be shocked to hear that you went through that. But I mean, just describe where you are now. I mean, and what your relationship is like now.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, if you guys have followed any Facebook, we have had a tough week. Our son was in the hospital earlier this week, and I could not and I cannot imagine not walking that journey with Nicole by my side. I do not believe I could do it, and I would not want to do it, and I would not survive it. So it is so worth whatever small things I did or said or prayed or whatever, and God did it all. And I'm so thankful. So thankful.
Yeah, and I can't really quite imagine that we now have more time together on the opposite end of the story. And I don't typically think about this story. We don't talk a lot about it. I've shared this one-on-one with people that I really love. But, so I guess you guys are all in that camp now. So I would be willing to give more details on that, but I would say that I can't imagine having done, the last part of our life together any other way. or separate.
Yeah.
I can't. It's just
Beautiful.
together. Yeah.
That's awesome. Last word. Any advice you'd have to a married couple that maybe hasn't been married for 27, 28 years, maybe a couple that's in a rough patch right now, what would you say?
You know, I have a number of friends that are in that point. And I got to tell you, I wouldn't have believed myself or anybody that said this to me at that point. But as a true witness of this, there is hope, and miracles happen. And it's only supernatural. It's only through the grace of God. And I will tell one other part of the story is that for how God worked in my life, he told me I needed to start reading the Bible. And I've grown up as a Christian, went through church school my whole life, and the Bible's always been around. But I had never really read my Bible. And that year that we began to heal, I committed to read and be in God's Word every single day. And if I hadn't heard God talking to me, I wouldn't have known how to get better, or how to forgive, or how to love again, or all of those pieces that go into this part. So I would say, just, believe that there is hope, and listen when God speaks to you.
Yeah. Jerry, I guess your advice would be go lower?
Go lower.
Yeah. Can we just thank these guys for their transparency today? Thank you so much. That was awesome. Well done.